Robin.
And I'm Julie.
We're two mamas who love inspiring healthy living.
After facing family health challenges and seeing how natural solutions transformed our lives, we are determined to help other mamas thrive, not just survive.
What if feeling awesome is possible for you and your family?
Come along with us on our natural journey.
Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Julie.
Welcome to our podcast,
Helping Mommas Thrive.
Yay! Our topic today is a dad story and how it motivated him to create something new. We don't have a lot of dads on our podcast.
No.
Right?
That's a shame.
This is so exciting.
I know.
This is so exciting.
I know. So welcome. So today we have Marty Orefice. Did I say that right?
Orefice, you got it.
I get 10 points. It's like my last name, Eichenholz. Nobody says that right.
Yeah, you got the gold stars.
Thank you. All right, so we'll just hop right in. So welcome to our podcast. I had met
thank you for having
Marty.
me.
Yeah, I want to just say, so we do muscle testing, and I think it was last year or like even 2 years ago. One of our practitioners for muscle testing said, "Hey, have you tried the Aspire product?" And I was like, "No." And she kind of said, "Oh." And she kind of told me your story, and I want you to tell it, but she told me what she knew about you. And she's like, "You need to check this out." And then he muscle tested for that and took it for a while. So that's how I was introduced to Marty. And then we saw him at an autism summit, and we met him physically and we got to talking. And so that's kind of how we ended up connecting. And so happy to have you here.
Yeah, it's so nice to be here.
Thanks. So can you share with everybody your story with your son, please?
For sure. Yeah, everything really started right before my son's 3rd birthday when I got his autism diagnosis. And at that time, it was, life was just extremely difficult. It was the 45 minutes to get down the stairs and in the car, the meltdowns that were just, death defying, locking myself in the bathroom just to get a 5-minute break. Like, life was just very difficult. And took him to after he got diagnosed, I took him to his, pediatrician, and he's like, "You know what? No, you don't have to worry at all." He's like, "I just went to an 11-day autism conference. I'm an expert. I can help you." I'm like, "Okay, great." And I'm like, what do we do? And he's like, "There's nothing you can do."
Oh.
And then he's like, "Does he want a sucker?" And I had been on my own journey for a little while before that in terms of healing. And I was like, "A sucker?" I'm like, "Really? Like, you want to give him sugar, which causes inflammation, which is going to make things worse? Like, this is absolutely ridiculous." And we got the standard, hey, get him in, 40 hours of ABA. I was like, how does anyone afford that? I mean, I don't even understand. So we did the normal things, got him in ABA, and he was in speech and occupational and everything. And on my health journey, I realized I was dealing with a lot of different things like reoccurring mono, adrenal fatigue, hormone levels were all messed up. And I had discovered biohacking, or back then it was a little bit more niche, but figuring out like what things I could do in terms of food and supplements that could help me get better, and realized there was a lot of issues that I had with gut and inflammation and impaired detox pathways from just having, like the MTHFR and things like that. So I had gotten a lot better just switching my diet. And I was like, well, I started researching it, and I was like, maybe I could do the same thing for my son. And I switched up his diet, which if anybody has or knows anybody with someone on the spectrum, that's like the most insane thing you can do is try to switch up a diet. And it was a lot of plates getting thrown against the wall and challenging times. But and at the same time, I was mixing up different supplements that I had read about. And I just kept at it. And it was about a month in, I just noticed there was a complete difference in the way that he communicated. Before, he was 100% echolalic, which, for those that don't know, it's just if I said something to him, he could repeat it back to me, but there wasn't any other communication around that. And I don't know, it was about a month in, and he responded in something that wasn't just repeating what I said.
That's amazing. Can we pause there for 1 second?
Yeah.
I want, because changing the diet is a hurdle that it feels very overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
But also, you have to look, like for you, you're saying communication. You saw communication. When Jonathan, my son, when he was 3, I tried it and I saw no difference. I did it for 4 months. But I
Mhm.
was only looking at communication. If I had been looking at his stool or energy or other things, I think I would have had a different story. So if you're out there listening to this, it's not like this is what Marty's saying about communication. That's what we mostly look for. But there are other indicators that it could be working. So have the hope. That's just what I wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. And there's so many things that happen in our body that we can't see, that aren't, visible to the naked eye. And if you eat something that causes inflammation, it causes inflammation whether you can see that inflammation or not. And it's going to
Right.
have an effect, down the road. So yeah, I hear parents talk about it all the time. And like, trust me, I know how hard it is to switch that up. And especially with picky eaters, and, they just won't eat. And so it was a very delicate balance. I'm not a food um, therapist or anything, but I just took what he loved. There were certain things that he loved that kind of fell within the spectrum of like, that were decent for him. And I would just use that to kind of encourage. And, it was a whole process though.
Great job.
And
Seriously.
never let him order off the kids menu, still to this day.
100%.
Yeah.
And never make 2
That is so
meals. Like I never made a kid meal and a parent meal.
Yep.
I would version it sometimes, like this kid likes a tortilla and this kid likes it plain, but I never made 2 meals. They always saw us modeling the food and eating the
Yeah.
food and all of it together.
Yeah. That's so good. And so I don't know, after that, I just was like, okay, wow, there's something here.
Mhm.
And, you know, I want to continue down this path. So I just
Mhm.
kept going, digging in, doing more research. I would I'd read about a supplement. I would bring it home and break it apart and mix it into his juice. I'd try it on myself first to see if I noticed the difference, and give it to him. And just got to a point when we were at, let's say, ABA, where they started at the same time, he would just be moving along a little bit faster. And they would, and I was like, okay, I really think that putting someone's body in a position where they're not fighting, let's say, chemicals and toxins and excess inflammation from what we're putting in their mouth, seemed to allow his body to have the energy and the resources to kind of start building back. And when he was at 3, they said he was about year 1, like developmentally, after the slide back. And so I just continued down that path, and fast forward, he's it's 10 years later now, and he's thriving in all areas. And you'd never know. I always say that with the understanding that everybody's journey is different, everybody's potential is different, and that's not the goal. The entire time I just saw him in extreme pain. He had sensitivities to sound and to texture and everything else. I mean, if he got water on his head, it would be, like the end of the earth. So to see him get out of that pain, and I don't know, it was just, I still am thankful every day. But knowing that's
And
not
he
the point, the point is that, just I want to do everything I can to put him in a position where he can reach his full potential, whatever that is.
I'm with you there. And I mean, he's lucky that you did that for him. I just want to clarify in case people don't know, ABA is applied behavior analysis. It's a form of therapy that's quantitative, that helps the kids learn. Um, and so it's very popular. And it actually is kind of controversial
Mhm.
as far as who supports it and who doesn't. We definitely did it. Um, but as a practitioner now, I want to know, like, why is this aversive? Like, why was he so sensory and why was the water bothering him? Now I understand that, but I definitely have been a proponent of, you know, going to ABA because now my son can get haircuts and now like we go to the dentist. Like I never
Yep.
stopped doing those things that we have to do to function in society. Um, But congratulations for doing that and having that epiphany for your son. That's amazing. Um,
Can I
do you?
can I
Robin, you're
ask?
bringing up my trauma here, thinking about haircuts. And
Mm,
when I'd take them to a regular place and they would yell at me to control them.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, well,
Ugh.
Jonathan used to throw up at them. So, what my ex-husband and I used to do is we would have a change of clothes. So, like, if we could actually get him in there, then he would throw up and we would just change him. Um, and then we got to where our ABA therapist would help us walk in. And he doesn't like the dinging bell of the haircut places.
Yeah.
Um, which he still doesn't like till this day, but he will sit there and get a haircut. But I feel you, and you're like, do you think I like this? Do you think I
Yeah.
want this to be like this? Like, people are
Mm,
sometimes so not understanding.
mm,
One time my son ran away from me, and I was like racing after him, and they were mad that I was pushing through their people. I'm like, do you think that
mm.
I want to be running like this?
Yeah.
And like I'm like breathing hard, bawling my eyes out, like, and they're yelling at me. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Mm. That's
Yeah.
What?
amazing.
Like there was a time I brought him to Disney, which, ends up always and usually ended up being a mistake. And we were back at the Dumbo ride where, it goes around,
Uh-huh.
and
Hmm.
underneath it, there's the water. And we got off, and it was a hot day, and he just like tried to run and like jump in the water. And I grabbed him, and he's over my shoulder, kicking and screaming. And ladies are screaming at me saying I was
Mm.
kidnapping him and brought security over. And I'm like, I was like,
Oh.
talk about like making a bad situation work.
Oh my gosh, we could totally commiserate on our stories. Uh,
Seriously.
but one more story just to make you feel better. My son would not get off Splash Mountain. So they had to stop the ride, and then his dad and I had to do that armpit maneuver thing and get him off the ride and walk him to the car like that through Frontierland, through Main Street, all the way to the car. And my daughter's bawling, we're sweating buckets and doing
Mhm.
that thing.
Yeah.
Gosh. Ooh,
And people are like, what are
y'all.
you doing? And like, okay, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
so. I do have a question about, because you had mentioned that you were doing some research and taking apart supplements and putting that in. So what is your background? Like what is it in you that how you knew to research certain supplements and put them together, and how did you know how to do that?
Well, it was my background in real estate investing that, no,
Right. Oh, right, of course.
no, I just always, like, I had some, like I said, I had some health issues myself, and I went to a very knowledgeable chiropractor who started to turn me on to these things like gut health, and, got me on some supplements myself. And I started to notice, these massive changes in the way that I felt in my blood work and things. So I just started to dive in. And around that same time, there was the biohacking movement with like Tim Ferriss and Dave Asbury and these people who
Oh
were
yeah.
talking about these incredibly scientific, biology, and like how do you hack your biology and get different levers to move through this stuff. So just
Yeah.
I wanted to make myself feel better. So I would
Yeah.
just dive into the research on that type of stuff. And so I didn't really have a background in it, except I just was a researcher, and I
Okay.
had a tremendous amount of motivation to find solutions.
I love that. I
I
love that.
love
I
it.
think a lot of people are stopped because they're like, well, who am I compared to the professional?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and you persevered with the motivation of healing you and your son. It's amazing. We
Yeah.
all like, I used to do that too. We all did. Um,
Yeah.
but can you help the listeners understand, like, as you were changing his diet, what you had to go through, like with school and your family and friends, and how you just kept on the straight and narrow with that a little bit?
Wow. You know what you're talking about, because that is like one of the biggest challenges. Yeah, I mean, with my family, it was a little bit easier because they started to see a radical difference in him. So they were like, okay, we're on board. They made special, if they were making, let's say burgers, they would buy, grass-fed organic beef. Like everything that we did was
Wow.
like different quality, and like I would have guidelines around that type of thing. And so they got on board pretty quick. And we don't see them very often, a few times a year, but they were completely on board. But then you go to like, I brought snacks everywhere. I brought food everywhere. I didn't, if we went like to Disney, let's say, I brought a backpack full of food and snacks, and that were things that I would do. But if we went to, let's say, church, and I would say, hey, just don't, I brought him a snack. Don't let him eat the other stuff. And I distinctly remember one time, just because my truck still smells, but they gave him goldfish, and I told him not to. And he got in the car and he threw up goldfish everywhere, because he wasn't used to eating that type of thing. So it's extremely difficult, and you have to be, strong-willed. You have to communicate really well, and you have to be willing to put in a lot of work to prep food. Like if I went to a birthday party, I had special treats that I would give him, as opposed to the cake or whatever anyone else was having. So
And how did you help him now that he's a little older? How do you help him understand what he is eating is helping his health?
we just have an extremely open communication, and I talk to him like he's my age and explain to him everything because he wants to know. And, just the other day I was talking about, this was probably like within the last like 5 days, about his, methylation deficiencies, and why him eating wheat is extremely much, especially with his, stack of genes that play into it, not just MTHFR, but, why having synthetic folate and like, enriched wheat is extremely, like, how it's going to screw up his body. And so, we just talk about everything, and that, there's always a consequence, even if you don't feel it now. And I've always packed his lunch for school and everything else. And he's not 100% now. He's in middle school and does all the things, but we try to control what we control, and, 80/20 everything now, because we don't see a big difference before. The level of, stims and everything would, in cognition and everything, I could notice a difference if his food was off.
Wow. So help us understand. So tell everybody, when in that journey did you just start making your own supplements and creating this company?
Yeah, so I got the idea for it. I don't know, it was probably a year into the journey, where I was, doing all these things and seeing, pretty dramatic results. And I was like, man, I really got to share this with people. And I was like, what if I just, I can create a line of supplements. I can teach people, what they need to know about how to, pick out food and do different things. And, but the thought, because I wasn't in that industry, I had no idea what the heck I would do or anything else, like completely terrified me. And I sat on the idea for 2.5 years, and it ate away at me like every single day I thought about it. I was in real estate. I'd be looking at property, and I'd be like, I got to do this, but I'm like, I don't know how. What am I, and finally it
Right.
just got to a point where that voice just got louder and louder and louder, to where I was like, all right, if I don't do this, I will forever, the rest of my life, regret it. And I was at an event, and I turned to the guy next to me, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And he goes, you know what? I got a guy that can help you, and walked me over. And it just seemed like, have you ever seen Finding Nemo?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. When they jump into the East Australian current, and then they're just like floating down, and everything, they don't have to swim hard. They're just moving. That's the way it felt. From the moment I said it
Wow.
out loud and committed to it, things just kind of fell into place, and in a way that convinced me that this was the right path to do.
Right.
And I ended up, like, I talked to my team, and I was like, all right, we're going to stop investing in real estate, and we are going to create and sell supplements for kids with autism. And obviously that's pretty,
Wow.
I
like, all
love
right.
it.
Yeah.
That's
So
a good staff meeting. Like,
yeah.
that's major change.
And for people that are, really value security and things, I
Mhm.
needed to make sure that everything was thought out and had pages of notes and had thought through
Mhm.
everything. And I'd been going to marketing conferences because I really love marketing, but not
Mhm.
really like doing anything with a lot of what I learned.
Mhm.
And so it
Mhm.
seemed this was like, okay, I was already prepping, even though I didn't know what for.
Mhm.
And yeah, so then, from there it was like, okay, now what do we need to do? Like, what are we going to have a product? And at first I was like, okay, I'm going to create a course where I'm going to teach people everything they need to know and lifestyle and how to go to birthday parties and how to talk to your family. And I was going to do that. And I created a course and I had people go through it, and it would start with a huge number of people, and then the people that would actually do anything on the lifestyle side was like very small. But the people that did would
Mhm.
see, you know, you know,
Mhm.
benefits. And I just realized I'm like, wow, like people, they don't really want to spend the time and learn and everything else because they're at their
Mhm.
wits' end. So I kind of flipped it on its head and I was like, okay, instead of doing that first, I should probably create a product because that's what they want, get them a win, and then, teach them on the back end. Because
Okay.
then they'll have the belief that, okay, this could be helpful because I'm already seeing a positive result up front. And so instead, I started to, sell them what they want and
Mm.
then give them what they need.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then
That's
found a
really
chemist that
cool.
I could work with and manufacturing and then, all the different things. And it seemed to always line up.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Definitely. That
Wow.
is amazing. So would you say like your journey, so tell us about the products you created and your son did.
Mhm.
So would you say that your son is recovered now, or like I don't know how you feel about that word, but he's mainstreamed, right?
Yeah, I say he's 100% recovered. I just had a meeting with the school where they took him off IEP,
Oh my gosh.
Ah,
Awesome.
like just like a month ago.
Marty. Oh my
So,
gosh. That's amazing.
yeah. And I don't deal with a lot of any of the things that I dealt with before. And now it's just, more normal teenager stuff. And when I say that, that's not the goal, right? It's just, you want to, put your kid in the best possible chance to succeed. And I think you
Mhm.
can, you can do quite a bit in the way of like giving their body what their needs and creating a good loving environment around them.
That's amazing. Oh my
It
goodness.
is.
So after
Wow.
that, can we just back up for a second?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like after that month and you saw the changes, what else did you do? Or did you continue just doing that?
I continued doing that. I was just looking at more of like a low inflammation diet. So similar to like paleo-ish, and you're
Mhm.
always going to be having a little bit of cheating there, but it was like all organic, gluten-free, wheat-free, soy-free, sugar-free, all the frees, but just finding like, now it's so much different now, even where we have sprouts and there's like all this incredible natural foods and things,
Mm.
snacks that are good. But yeah, I just kept going down that way and, just continued to find supplements and say, okay, like let's work on the gut. Let's, found, the sulforaphane and the detox and, all of these different components and just tried to put his body in a place to thrive, around the house, like getting rid of all of the, making sure that all the products that we use, there was no fluoride in the toothpaste, there wasn't phthalates and parabens and, air fresheners and,
Mm.
soaps and things like that, making sure we got a reverse osmosis water filter, air filters in the room, like just doing a really good job to like just slowly. It wasn't all at once. It was just, okay, I'd learn about EMFs and it was like, okay, well, maybe we don't need Wi-Fi on at night. Maybe that's creating a little bit more oxidative stress on the body, and then just continuing down that path.
Amazing.
That's
Amazing.
amazing. Do you find, since you were, kind of thinking, give the people, what they want, and then they'll follow up with what they need. Have you found there to be more opportunity now to have discussions with your consumers and able to feed into them education wise to see if that component can be brought in more easily?
Yeah. And what I did is I took that, like 6-week course that I taught and chopped it up into little 2-minute bites or 2 to 5 minute bites, and then presented that over the course of a few years so that you can, once you get the product and, hopefully you see like a little bit of change. You're like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. Obviously, he's been in my position. Maybe I'll listen to him, because it's hard. Any type of lifestyle change is hard. I mean, we live in an environment where it's like you are fighting upstream all times
Yes.
to avoid toxins and, all that stuff. So yeah, so that
Definitely.
was one of the things we did, is just, every customer would then just, get a 2-year long education process.
That's
And
Gotcha.
great. That's
yeah,
cool.
That's
and
cool.
so that's how we look at it, though.
So share with us. So you created
I
the
love
first
it.
product.
Yep.
Share with us what that was, and then I used it.
All right. Yeah, it was a gut health product, and the thinking behind it was, I understand with the taste and texture sensitivities that couldn't create tablets or capsules or things like that. So we created a gut health powder that didn't have any flavor that you could mix in. And the idea was that it was able to address a lot of different components, like, healing the lining of the gut, providing the good bugs, the good probiotics, providing the prebiotics, um, giving the brain what it needs typically, because there's, limited diet and things like that. Digestive enzymes to help break down food. So it was meant to be this comprehensive gut health formula, just because I knew that most people weren't going to like go to the lengths of breaking up stuff and, hiding it. It was very, very difficult. So I was like, what if I just make it easy and create like a, very small scooper that they could dump in to have all this stuff in there. And the probiotic strains were the ones that were extremely helpful with autism, just looking at, the research and everything. And everyone always says, oh, is there like clinicals, on that? And it's like, okay, well, in order for you, like most of the time, it'll be 30 years later, and then people will go, oh yeah, gut health had a major impact on.
I know, right?
Yeah. But if
When
there's,
he says little scoop, he means little scoop. It's like the scoop is smaller than this 5 ml essential oil. Like it was a small little scoop,
it's
but
like
brilliant,
1.3.
brilliant
And
to make that powder. I don't know if people really know the struggle, like just like medicine, like these kids, their sensory is so acute that they can smell any flavor, any change in their applesauce or whatever drink they're doing. They know immediately that it's different. And so, that it's great what you did, because you could try to get it in there, right?
yeah, and we're continuing like to work with our manufacturer to get it smaller. And we actually just had a string of like really bad reviews on Amazon because they're like, your bottle isn't, filled up all the way. And I was like, well, that's on purpose. So I had to do a video, and I was like, the whole reason, one, is we have to have a bigger bottle because I don't have small hands. Like my hands didn't fit in the really small jars, like even some of the other stuff I tried. And two, like we've worked really hard to get this to be as small amount as possible by making sure that there's no, the all the carriers and stuff that come along with it to make a
Yeah.
supplement. So we started
Yes.
from there, and we really we spent the first 4 years of just with that one product and just seeing transformation and change within our customers. And along the way, I would like go to different conferences and things and learn about ingredients. And I'd be like, oh, that would be really amazing. So I just started to create, I didn't want to change the original formula because so many people were like, it was life changing for so many people, but I wanted to have something that was like next level, really, for my family who I knew was never going to change their lifestyle, and for like pretty hard cases. And so we created BioHeal Pro, which is like the first gut health version, but it's like twice as powerful and on steroids. And it's like, the rocket fuel. One of the
That's
chemists at our first manufacturer, he said, if BioHeal's a Cadillac, the Pro is like a rocket ship.
Wow.
Love it.
And
If
then we just
anybody's
started
looking,
addressing from there.
oh, so sorry. That's great. I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant that you have done it like that.
Yeah. And it was just can have the most impact. And it's like if you start with the gut, because that's where most dysfunction is. And it's like, okay, well, you start with nutrient deficiencies, but like if the body can't absorb things or, everything started in the gut. And so our hypothesis at the very beginning was if we attack that first, that's going to have the biggest impact. And then after that, we can start addressing things like nutrient deficiencies and detoxification and inflammation.
Well, what's amazing is this is not just for kids with autism. The our gut and our brain are connected, and so many of our kids these days are struggling with ADHD or apraxia or dyslexia. There's a lot of neurological things that are happening that if you work on the gut, some of those neurological things can improve. So if you're listening to this and you say, "Oh, my kid doesn't have autism, but he has X," working on the gut is a great place to start.
Yeah. I mean, that's for everybody. And I always say this,
Yeah.
but it's, we're focused going an inch wide, mile deep on helping those with autism because they have the most sensitive systems and those are the ones that need it most. But really, if you're talking about gut health and reducing inflammation and helping your body detox, like those are all things that everybody needs all
Right.
the time, just because we live in a very toxic society and our food system's poisoned. And, not to sound like that guy, but it's just,
You're with the right
True.
people. I
yeah.
know. Even today, I was like really itchy before my first client, and I tested for chemtrails. And
Oh,
our kids are outside. I know, and I had to take Virachem binder, and I had to send some frequencies to me. I'm like, why am I itching so badly? It's terrible. So like they're infiltrated. So even like Marty, you said you like took the toxins out of the house and you changed the food. They're infiltrated everywhere. You know, um, mold in their schools and the air and like so the best way to protect them is what are the things that we can change. We can change the things at our home. We can
Yep.
change the things that they're exposed to. It's a great start.
Yeah. And I think for most people, and I took this for granted for so long, but there's nothing more important than health because it doesn't matter your place in the world, how much you have. And I've heard this story years ago. It's like you could be a billionaire sitting on the beach, doing whatever. And if you have the flu, like the only thing you care about is feeling better. And just coming off of a 2-year journey, getting through mold toxicity and Lyme disease and not being able to think or really do anything for a number of years, it is something that I just appreciate so much more. And I feel
Awesome.
like I just want to shake people and be like, I know you don't see it, but
Right.
it's really hurting you. Just
Oh,
Yes.
we feel the same
Mm.
way. And it's our mission to empower people to take charge of their health. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't always want to see how their lifestyle impacts their health. They just like want the magic button. So it's such a gem. It's a gem to meet people like you who are on this journey too, because that's how we get everybody healthy again.
yep. Yeah, because it's so confusing. There's so many different, like even if you just were like, okay, I want to eat healthier, and then, what does that even mean?
I know
Like,
there's so many definitions of it. And that's why we like people to work with us actually, because that's what we do. We get in the trenches with people and we help them make small changes that have big impact for them.
yep,
So, even healthy food, like let's say a nightshade or an oxalate, you could be sensitive to that kind of constituents of vegetables that have amazing antioxidants, but your body may not like it. And
yep.
so that's why muscle testing is really cool. Um,
I
so
love that. And go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, my view on that has changed so much because I always used to think, well, if it works, it works, and everybody's the same, and it's like, oh my God, like everybody's so radically different how things affect them.
I know.
True.
It's amazing.
So that's
Um,
amazing what you guys do to like match, the medicine with, the person.
Yeah. We love the efficiency of it, you know,
Yes.
and it's just you save money and time, which is both beautiful, which are both
Yes.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Um and aggravation, right? So our clients,
Mhm.
they heal faster. So
That's right.
tell us about your other products that you've created so everybody can know, and also the name of your company because we haven't said it yet.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
It's called Aspire Nutrition, and you can find it at aspirenutrition.com. And like I was saying, I just kind of look at, and it started with, okay, what are the common dysfunctions that come along with autism or, different things. And it was like impaired gut health, reducing inflammation, detoxing, and um, just get any type of vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And so we have products around that core four of problem areas. And like I said, these are problem areas for everybody and things that our bodies need help with just because of our environment. So, we have BioHeal Pro, which is where I'd recommend starting for gut health. And then we have BioClear, which is our sulforaphane based detox program or product. And for those that don't know, the most powerful substance for detoxing is in cruciferous vegetables, and it's called sulforaphane. And the way that I like to look at it is, do you remember the old Christmas trees that had all the lights? And if one light went out, the whole thing, you'd have to find where that light went
Mhm.
out. Well, this was like going and sulforaphane's like plugging in that light and activating like 200 detox pathways. Like it's so powerful. And so we have that. We have our bioavailable multivitamin. And all of these things are available in powders as well. And it's not just for kids. Like my dad, for example, he doesn't like to take pills. So he just makes a smoothie and,
Mhm.
dumps the vitamins and things into that. But with our multi,
Awesome.
it's all things that are bioavailable, methylated B vitamins, chelated minerals, things like that. And also have things in there that you normally wouldn't find, things for brain function, ADHD, focus, clinically proven ingredients. And then we have our omega-3 fish oil. When I say fish oil, it's a little bit of a misnomer because most fish oils, you get the fish burps, it tastes awful. Tastes exactly like a orange dreamsicle, I guess, the things you used to get off the ice cream trucks. And that completes our
Mhm.
core four and is our
Awesome.
main product offering. And
Which
we
is
think
your best selling product?
that'll be the BioHeal, our gut health supplement. And it's I don't know if it's because we just sold that a lot longer. So we have a lot of
Mhm.
customers that have been on, subscribe and save. And just like from a business standpoint, it was pretty interesting. We found that once people got to like the second purchase, they just stayed on for life. And so it was our job to like say, hey, here's how you mix it into different foods. You can mix in applesauce or
Mhm.
peanut butter, or I mean, we have kids with feeding tubes that take it as well.
Awesome. I like
Astounding.
that you mentioned that because we do have to be creative.
Mhm.
I always had to put things in applesauce, but then put Ninja Red in the applesauce to flavor the applesauce. Um,
Ah,
yeah, because I would put other things in there too that were not flavorless.
yeah.
Um, so and still to this day, my son is 19. He watches me put all the stuff in, and he knows the Ninja Red's there, but he won't take any of those separately. But when it's in the applesauce, it's fine.
Yeah, it's like where there's a will, there's a way. We did a contest one time to try to find like the most creative ways that people were, hiding
Oh,
it.
how fun!
Yeah, I mean there were so many. One that just stuck out. I don't even know if it won or was the most creative, but they were taking mini muffins, those like, little muffins in a bag, and they were like just burrowing a hole and dumping it in there.
Wow,
I was like, I never would have thought of that.
wow. I mean, I
So
remember
clever.
when my son was younger, I had one of those injectors, and I would put it in a
Yep.
strawberry. Um, it's like trying to give medicine to an animal. It's so hard. And so, I encourage any parent that's listening to this, just be creative. You could reach out to Marty or us, and, you know, there are ways where he said there's a will, there's a way. The other thing I've noticed is like as you put nutrients into the body, the kids are more amenable and open to some of these things. So a lot of these kids
100%.
are, right, they're nutrient deficient.
Yep.
They're only eating like white bread and chicken nugget or something. And so they're not gonna, somehow you get it in. But once you start getting those things in, they're like, oh, okay. Their taste buds start changing a little bit and they're more open.
Yeah, and we see that so much, and especially when there's like extreme dysbiosis in the gut and different issues, like any type of things that would normally be healthy that are a little bit harder to digest. Maybe it's like heavier on the protein, or fat. It's those are things that can really hurt, and maybe they can't communicate that, but when you start to like help that pain go down, they're willing to eat more things. And you,
Absolutely.
and you just think about like yourself, if you have any tummy issues, like how much it affects you, and it's even more so when it's difficult to communicate that.
I always thought it was amazing that younger kids, the ones that don't always eat, um, and then when their parents put them gluten free, all of a sudden they start eating. It's like the body knows that gluten was so horrible for them that they just didn't eat. And once the parent figured out, oh, let's introduce some gluten free food, they started eating. It's
Yep.
like amazing.
It really is. It's like the body has such an incredible intelligence if we just listen.
Yes, I know. So we probably should wrap it up a little bit. I would love to have you share, like, if a dad or a mom are listening to this and they're struggling, what advice would you give them um, to like start?
Yeah, the first thing that I would do is, one, just know there is hope, and
Mm.
you're going to get through it. And I've had so many days where I didn't think I was. And if I think back, like, what if I could just go back and tell myself something? It would just be like, keep going. You got this, just be encouraging. But I'd start small. I would start, removing some of the things. Like I would buy organic whenever possible. I would look at, switching up the diet and doing something that can help bring that inflammation down. And if that's not possible or not willing, because I don't know, I've talked to so many people and most people aren't even willing to do that, then I would just, look at supplements that can help those four core areas that I talked about. Not Doesn't have to be ours. I'm a little bit biased. I think they're pretty good, but I would just look at, like, if you start healing the gut, then everything else becomes easier. And so I would start there. And, around the house, I would just look at, you know, little things you can do to, get some of the toxins out. And it's not going to be like a dramatic difference. I think a lot of this stuff is cumulative, but if you can, you're not taking in poison that the body needs to deal with, and, you're getting water that's not filled with prescription drugs and all sorts of neurotoxins and things like that. It's just easier for the body to, do what it's normally supposed to do. And it's just so interesting with neuroplasticity and the body's ability to change and adapt and grow. Like, we just have to,
Mhm.
you know, give it the right conditions. And not to say that that's going to change everything, but I just feel like if there's one thing to know, it's that the changes that we make, and we probably have to make them ourselves because a kid won't do something different than you. And if you're sitting across the table from them, but if we can change our habits and give that gift to our kids, that's something that they're going to have for a lifetime. And I just feel very strongly in the power of that.
Oh my gosh. I could talk to you for hours. We have so much in common, and it's so amazing to meet a dad who is the driving force in the healing process, and all the things that you've learned and gone through is amazing. So if somebody wants to purchase your product, what's the website?
Yeah, they can just go to aspirenutrition.com, and
Cool.
we have everything there. And like I said, we have things available in the flavorless powder or capsules if you can do that.
Awesome. And if you want to muscle test with us, we'd love to have you. Our consults are 129 and it's for 2 sessions, and we'll look for the root cause. And of course, we'll test you for Marty's products, which are fabulous. And I'm so glad we had you on today. So good. So, so great. We could go on for hours. All right. So, Marty, thank you so much for your time. We so appreciate it. We should do lunch one day. I'm going to text you.
Yeah,
So
text me. We're close.
thank you. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like it and share it. And of course, you're welcome to message me and Julie with any questions, or obviously go to our website at thelivingtree.com. So thank you. Bye, Marty.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And if you want to support our show, give us a 5-star rating.
To learn more about our practice, visit at thelivingtree.com.